this may be controversial, but there are times when you actually should not carry a gun. Whoa. That is like totally mind-blowing because we're supposed to carry everywhere we go. And yeah, that's true most of the time, unless you're doing this thing that we're talking about in today's video. Now, the reason we even carry guns in the first place is because whether we've done it consciously or not, we've all done some sort of risk assessment and decided that, yeah, you know what, when I'm out in public, I do need to carry a gun for self-defense. Let's unpack that risk assessment thing just a little bit further, and then we're gonna take a look at the type of scenario when having a gun on you actually poses a bigger risk than if you didn't have it on you. But what even is this whole risk assessment thing anyway? Well, the official definition is risk assessment is a process that identifies potential hazards and analyzes what could happen if a disaster or hazard occurs. Yeah, that definition is kind of a lot of word salad, so basically what risk assessment is you're taking a look at the situation that you're going to be in, and then you're identifying and kind of making a list of, okay, what are the potential hazards or dangers I may encounter, and then you kind of rank them by probability. So, you know, this danger is the most likely, this other one over here isn't as likely. And then you're thinking about, okay, if these dangers or hazards do come up, how am I going to deal with them? Now, a concealed carry risk assessment would be, okay, I'm going to be going out into public today and there's bad guys out in the world and I need to be prepared for bad guys to try to do bad guy things to me. So how am I going to respond to that? Well, I'm going to carry a gun so I can deal with said bad guys if said bad guys try to do bad guy things to me. That's a lot of bad guys, but you get the point. Also, it's your constitutional right to carry a gun, so darn it, use your constitutional right and carry a gun. All right, so with all this risk assessment mumbo jumbo, we finally figured out that it's a good idea to carry a gun if you're going out into the big, scary world. But despite that, I'm sorry, but there's still a few situations that do exist when you're actually better off leaving the gun behind temporarily. Now, before we start talking about the type of situation when you might be better off leaving the gun behind for a little while, leave me a comment down below letting me know if you carry 100% of the time, absolutely no exceptions, or if you think that there are times or certain activities that you might be doing when you might be better off leaving the gun behind for just a little while. While you're down there, be sure to give this video a like and smash that old subscribe button. I'd really appreciate it. So this brings us to the type of situation when I leave my carry gun behind for a little while. And that situation is when I'm mountain biking. Now, you may be out there thinking, that's totally crazy because, like, what is mountain biking other than a leisurely cruise down some trails or a gravel road and stuff like that? Yeah, well, there's just a little bit more to this whole mountain biking thing than just a leisurely cruise down some trails. Yeah, when you're flying down a mountain bike only downhill trail, you got jumps, you got drops, you got rock gardens, all kinds of gnarly stuff that is basically just trying to send you over the handlebars. Now, you might be thinking, okay, so what? Big deal. What does this have to do with concealed carrying a handgun? Well, it's got everything to do with it actually, because as you can see, when you're flying downhill like that, there is a higher risk of crashing, flying off your bike, stuff like that, where you could get hurt. And if you land smack on your concealed carry handgun when you go flying off your mountain bike, yeah, that is gonna ruin your day because you're landing smack on a big solid hunk of metal and plastic. That could definitely break some bones. So if you have this gun on you and you end up in a crash, there is a higher risk of a bodily injury than if you didn't have the gun on you. I also leave my gun behind when I'm mountain biking because I don't want the gun to go flying out of my holster if I get into a crash. So we've talked about good concealed carry handgun holsters here on the channel before, and a good concealed carry holster will have retention. As you can see right there, I'm shaking the gun, it's not gonna fall out. Under just normal shaking like that, when you're walking around with this thing on you all day, it's gonna stay put. And then when you grab a hold of it, give it a yank, it'll come out if you ever need it. But if we get into a crash on our mountain bike, there's some pretty extreme forces being exerted on us that could easily just rip the gun clean out of your holster. Now you got a unprotected handgun tumbling downhill with you, and I don't need to explain to you guys why that's not a good situation. So yeah, I leave the gun behind because I don't want it to get ripped out of my holster if I get into a crash. Now, if your handgun does get ripped out of its holster in the event of a mountain bike crash, there's one question that I have not been able to find a definitive answer to. As we all know, modern handguns like this Glock 19 and similar guns are drop safe, meaning if it were loaded, which of course it is not, if it were loaded and I was to drop it on the ground right in front of me right now, it wouldn't go off if it was loaded because it's drop safe. My question is a Glock 19 or a similar handgun still drop safe in a mountain bike crash? Because we're not just talking about dropping it on the ground, we're talking this thing is going flying with a ton of energy behind it and it's gonna smack into a tree or rock or something like that. With those kind of forces at work, is a Glock 19 or a similar type of handgun still drop safe? Like I said, I've been researching this, but I just haven't been able to find a definitive answer. So if you guys can shed any light on that for me, please do so down in the comment section. But regardless of whether or not the Glock or a similar handgun is still drop safe with those forces at work, doesn't really matter because you still got a handgun, a loaded handgun, tumbling downhill along with you, and that is going to be a bad day for everybody concerned. All right, apologies for the change in scenery. The neighbors decided it was a great time to start chainsawing right behind me, so had to move over here. Getting back to that whole risk assessment thing we were talking about earlier, like we were saying, when you're going out in the town, let's say you're going grocery shopping or whatever, you're thinking, all right, going grocery shopping, there's the possibility of some bad guys in town, so I'm gonna carry a gun to meet that threat, which is the most likely threat I may encounter. When I'm going mountain biking, my risk assessment looks more like, okay, going mountain biking, I'm going to these trails over here. Yes, the possibility of bad guys being there does exist. It's a crazy world we live in, so who knows? But I'm also thinking, all right, but I'm also gonna be hitting those downhill trails. Could get pretty gnarly, kind of rowdy, so which is more likely? Me getting into a mountain bike crash, the gun going flying down the hill, or me landing on it, or me getting attacked by a bad guy? Well, the probability goes to me crashing, landing on the gun, or the gun goes flying down the hill and discharges. That is the greater of the two threats. So I need to meet that threat first, which means I take the gun off temporarily, leave it in my lockbox in the car, go mountain biking, and when I get back, I put the gun right back on. Now, of course, all this is my own opinion based off of my own risk assessment I've done for the particular area that I live in. You guys, in your own set of circumstances, may come to a completely different conclusion than I did. You may think to yourself, yeah, I'm gonna be doing a high risk activity, like whatever it is, mountain biking, dirt biking, football, whatever it may be. And you may think to yourself, yeah, there is the risk of getting hurt in this thing I'm gonna be doing, but you know what? I still think it's best to keep the gun on me to deal with any potential bad guys that may be in the area. And that's fine, because you have to come to your own conclusion based off of your own set of unique circumstances for the area that you live in. For me, again, when I'm out on the trails, I feel safe enough in my area that I don't need to have the gun on me, and I can leave it in the car so that way I don't get hurt from it if I get into a crash. But again, depending on where you guys live and what things are like there, you may think, yeah, I'm going mountain biking, but I still got to keep the gun on me because there's lots of bad guys around or whatever it may be. So the point is that you got to do your own risk assessment and then arrive at your own conclusion as to whether or not it's best to leave the gun behind or to keep it on you. All right, if you guys want to see more videos about concealed carry, be sure to check out my full video on the Glock 19 right up here. Thanks so much for watching today's video. I appreciate all of you guys being here. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and to check out all the cool stuff in my merch store. And until next time, show me them firearms. Now, this is absolutely going to tick the government off. But that's kind of the whole point of the Second Amendment, and that's why we love it so much.